So this husband, married over a decade, 2 kids, has been attending sex parties, posting pictures of his genitals online, and financing a younger mistress for 7 full years. 7 years. And here's the crazy part. His wife had no idea until she hired an investigator. This is a real Reddit story, and trust me, it gets so much worse than you're imagining right now. Okay, so let me walk you through how this all started. The wife, she's 44, he's 47. They've been married for just over 10 years, 2 beautiful kids. And for the most part, she thought things were fine, loving even. But there were these little things, you know. He traveled a lot for work, constantly glued to his phone. And sometimes he'd just pop out for errands, really vague errands. Wouldn't really explain where he was going or why. And here's the thing, she didn't want to complain. Because his job, it was demanding, sure, but it paid for everything. I mean, this lifestyle she never thought possible. She could stay home with the kids. They went on amazing holidays. The children went to a great school. So every time she felt that little twinge of suspicion, she'd tell herself she was being selfish. Like, how could she complain about his work phone or his weird emergencies when he was providing all of this for them? So she let it go. For years, basically. But then 2 weeks ago, something changed. She found something. And I mean, she wasn't even looking for it, not really. She was just going through his blazer, one of those inside pockets, and she found a condom. So, yeah, a condom. Now, let me pause right there because here's why that's such a huge deal. They only ever had sex at home. That was just how it worked. And honestly, they weren't even doing it that often anymore. Like their sex life had slowed down quite a bit. So there was literally no reason for him to be carrying a condom around. None. That's when her brain just clicked into a different mode, you know. Like suddenly all those little things, the phone, the vague errands, the travel, they all started looking different. So she did something she never thought she'd do. She waited for an opportunity and she got into his phone. She didn't even know what she was looking for, honestly. First, she checked his photos. Nothing. Then she went to his messaging apps. WhatsApp, password locked. Telegram, also password locked. Which, I mean, come on, who locks their WhatsApp? That alone is such a red flag. The only thing she could access was iMessage, and there was barely anything there. Like, suspiciously empty. So now she's got this sinking feeling. Something is definitely up. And then she remembered her friend. Last year, a close friend of hers was in a similar situation. Absent partner, really secretive. That friend hired what's called a digital investigator, someone who digs up everything online. And what did that investigator find? Oh, just a complete double life. The guy had a long-term girlfriend in Edinburgh, and get this, a whole separate business she knew nothing about. He was earning money from it, spending it on the other woman, and his fiancée had no clue. So the wife asked for that investigator's contact info, and she asked them to pull everything they could find on her husband. They spent about a week digging, and then they came back to her with something that would change her life forever. So she's sitting there, phone in hand, and she's already realized something is seriously wrong. I mean, she checked his photos first, nothing weird there. But then she went to his messaging apps. WhatsApp, locked. Telegram, also locked. Both of them needed passwords. And she's thinking to herself, who does that? Who password protects their messaging apps unless they're hiding something? The only thing she could actually get into was iMessage, and that was practically empty. Like barely any conversations at all, which honestly might be even more suspicious than finding something incriminating. It's like he cleaned house. So now she's got this knot in her stomach. She doesn't know what to do, but then she remembers something. Last year, a close friend of hers went through something similar. Her friend was engaged to this guy who was always absent, always secretive, and she ended up hiring what's called a digital investigator, someone who digs through online records, social media, public databases, the whole thing. And what that investigator found, it was insane. The fiancé was living a complete double life. He had a long-term girlfriend in Edinburgh, like a whole other relationship. But wait, it gets worse. He also had a separate business that he'd set up and was earning money from, money his fiancée knew nothing about. And you can bet he was spending that money on the other woman. So the wife, After finding that condom and those locked apps, she starts thinking, maybe I need to do the same thing. She asked her friend for the investigators' contact info, and she made the call. She told them to pull together anything and everything they could find about her husband. Every digital footprint, every hidden account, everything. They spent about a week working on it, a full week of digging. And then one day, her phone rings. It's the investigator. And here's the part that gives me chills just thinking about it. The investigator didn't just email her the report. He called her first, and he warned her. He said, listen, this report is going to be a very difficult read. He told her she should open it in private at a time when she'd be able to really process it fully. Not at work, not around the kids, alone. Can you imagine getting that phone call? Just hearing someone say, you need to sit down for this. She knew right then that whatever was in that report was going to destroy everything she thought she knew about her marriage. So she found a moment alone. She opened the file, and what she read, I mean, honestly, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't believe if it was in a movie. But this was real. All of it was real. So she opens the report. And I'm telling you, what she found inside is absolutely devastating. Like the kind of thing that makes you question if you ever really knew someone at all. Here's the first thing. Her husband, the man she'd been married to for over a decade, was having an affair. Okay, that's bad enough on its own. But wait until you hear who with. A woman 15 years younger than him. 15 years. She's practically a different generation. And here's the worst part. He wasn't just having an affair. He was financing this woman's entire lifestyle, paying for her rent, her expenses, everything. And get this, he even funded her failed business venture. Like she started some company, it went under, and he just kept throwing money at it. Money that should have been going to his own family, to his kids. But honestly, that's not even the worst of it. Not even close. Because then the report revealed that he was attending sex parties. And I don't mean like, a one-time thing. He was regularly going to these parties with his mistress, where they would have sex with other partners. Other people, just strangers. And his wife had no idea he was even capable of something like that. Wait, it gets so much worse. He was also posting in an online sex forum, a public forum. And I'm not talking about just commenting or lurking. No, he was posting pictures of his genitals for strangers to see. And he was writing about his addiction, his words, not mine, to pornography and escorts. Sharing all of these intimate, disgusting details with his creepy online friends like it was some kind of hobby. And here's the thing that really broke her. Based on his own posts online, he'd been spending thousands of dollars on escorts. And this wasn't recent either. This went back 7 years. 7 years. Almost their entire marriage. He had been paying other women for sex while she was at home taking care of their children, thinking he was just working hard for their family. So let me just summarize what this woman found out in one single report. Her husband of 10 years had been living a complete double life. Affair with a younger woman, paying for her lifestyle and her failed business, going to sex parties, posting explicit photos online, and hiring escorts for nearly a decade. After she read all of that, she completely fell apart. And I mean that genuinely. She said in her post that she could barely eat, could barely sleep. Taking care of her own kids felt impossible because she was just existing, going through the motions. And the saddest part, her husband was so absorbed in his own secret life that he didn't even notice something was wrong. He didn't see that his wife had stopped eating, stopped sleeping, could barely function. He was just checked out. She said she had no idea where to go from here. Should she confront him? Should she see a lawyer first? Part of her was even wondering. And I want you to really understand how deep this manipulation goes. Part of her was asking if maybe, just maybe, if he was truly an addict, maybe there was a way through this. Maybe if he agreed to treatment. I mean, listen to that. She found out all of this, and she was still trying to find a reason to stay. That's what years of manipulation does to a person. That's what happens when someone you love betrays you on this level. Your brain it can't accept it. So you look for any excuse, any possible explanation that isn't total destruction. But here's what the comments told her. And honestly, this is where things get real. So after getting that devastating report, you might expect her to confront him immediately, right? Tear him apart right then and there. But she didn't. And honestly, that shows so much strength. She decided to wait, because it was right before the holidays. And she didn't want to rob her children, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, of one last Christmas and New Year's as a family. Think about that. She knew her marriage was over. She knew the man she loved had been lying to her for years. But she still put her kids first. She smiled through Christmas. She acted normal. Meanwhile, she was completely dying inside, but she wasn't just sitting around. Oh no. She was getting her ducks in a row. First thing she did, and this is so important, she researched solicitors, got recommendations from trusted friends. And then, and I really want to emphasize this because it's so crucial, she scheduled an STI test. Yeah, after reading about the sex parties and the escorts, she had to go get checked to make sure her husband hadn't given her anything. She said it was horrifically embarrassing. Like, can you imagine having to do that because of someone you trusted? But she did it, and thankfully, it came back negative. She said she didn't know how she would have coped if he had actually gotten her sick because of his actions. So here's where her planning gets really impressive. Her husband made things almost too easy. He flew out for a work trip on January 2nd, and the moment he was gone, she got to work. She met with her solicitor. She packed up every single one of his belongings into 6 suitcases. 6, just lined them up. She had the locks changed on their home, and she spoke to a child psychologist to figure out the best way to explain everything to the kids who were way too young to understand the full picture. Then she waited. A week later, he came back. She made sure her mother had picked up the children from school so they wouldn't be there for what was about to happen. And she greeted him in the hallway. Picture this. He walks through the door and there's a hallway full of suitcases. Just all of his stuff packed up and waiting. And next to them, divorce papers. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just started walking him through the report. Every single detail. The affair, the sex parties, the escorts, the online posts, everything. And that's when he broke down. Tears, excuses, the whole thing. He told her it was a compulsion, that he was unbelievably stressed, that he couldn't help it. And then he said something so incredibly manipulative that I need you to hear it exactly as she heard it. He said that if she left him, he would have no choice but to marry the other woman. But, and here's the kicker, if she took him back, he would end it immediately. Did you catch that? He basically said, if you don't stay with me, I'm going to marry the woman I cheated on you with. Like that was some kind of threat. Like she should feel guilty about leaving him, because then he'd have to go be with his mistress. The manipulation is just breathtaking. She said that comment was truly the nail in the coffin. I don't think he even realized how awful it sounded. But she did. She saw him for what he was in that moment. After hours of back and forth, hours of him groveling, making excuses, trying to find some angle that would work, he finally gave up. He realized there was nothing he could say. And then came the moment that sticks with me. He was left at the bottom of the stairs, in the entrance to their home, standing next to 6 suitcases, waiting for a cab to take him to God knows where. She watched him stand there, the father of her children, the man she'd loved for 14 years, standing in the hallway of the home they'd built together, waiting for a taxi like a stranger. And then the cab came, and he was gone. Now, she admits there's still a lengthy legal process ahead. And unfortunately, she found out that him being unfaithful doesn't really impact how assets get divided where she lives. But she's confident her solicitor will help her keep the house and live independently. As for herself, she said she's still completely heartbroken. And honestly, she doesn't ever hope to find love again. She just doesn't think she can trust anyone like that anymore. But here's what she also said, and I want you to hear this. She said she took her power back. She chose dignity over deception, and she proved that her worth is not up for negotiation. So the comments rolled in, and honestly, the community did not hold back. They gave her some of the most direct, no-nonsense advice I've ever seen on Reddit. First thing everyone said, talk to a lawyer before you do anything else. Not after you confront him, not after you try to work things out. Before. Because the moment he realizes you know, he's going to start protecting himself. And that means hiding money, changing passwords, maybe even draining accounts. So you secure your financial future first. You understand your rights. You get ahead of this before he even knows there's a race. Look, here's the thing. A lot of people in the comments addressed something really important. She kept saying, well, maybe if he's an addict, maybe therapy could fix this. And the commenters were really blunt about it. They said therapy is not a magical cure. It only works if the person actually does the work. And based on everything in that report, 7 years of lying, sex parties, escorts, posting explicit photos online, this man wasn't showing any signs of wanting to change. He was reveling in it. He loved his secret life. And honestly, some commenters went even deeper. They said she should look into something called pathological love relationships. Basically, ask yourself some hard questions. Does he have difficulties with empathy? Does he blame shift, like making his problems your fault? Does he show low remorse, low accountability? Is he motivated by power and control? Because if you're dealing with someone who has a personality disorder, and a lot of people suspected that based on his behavior, therapy isn't going to fix that. He likely will never change. Another piece of advice really stuck with me. One commenter said, if you stay, you are showing your kids that this is how adult relationships work. Betrayal, disrespect, lack of love. That's what they'll grow up thinking is normal. That's what they'll seek out in their own relationships someday. But if you leave, you show them that being treated this way is unacceptable. That betrayal has consequences, and that choosing your own self-respect is always a priority. Powerful stuff, right? And finally, protect your finances. This man had been funneling money into another woman's lifestyle, her failed business, escorts for years. The commenters said, do not let him jeopardize your children's future. Do not let him leave you with nothing while he walks away and starts over with someone 15 years younger. So the advice was clear. Don't beg. Don't argue. Don't ask for explanations you'll never really believe anyway. He made his choices. Now she needs to make hers. Prepare your exit on your own terms and don't look back. All right, so that's one story of a wife taking back control. But here's a completely different one, way less extreme, but honestly, just as frustrating in its own way. This mom's daughter is turning 5, cute little girl, and for her birthday, she gets gifts from family. Most of them are toys, clothes, whatever. But then there's a pair of earrings from the dad and stepmom. Now here's the thing. This little girl's ears aren't pierced. The parents decided early on that they weren't going to pierce them as a baby. They want her to decide for herself when she's older. And so far, she's never expressed any interest. But the stepmother, oh, she has opinions. She's been pushing this mom to pierce her daughter's ears since the day she was born. Literally. First it was like, oh, people won't know she's a girl if you don't. Then it turned into, she'll get jealous of her friends. Every time they see her, she brings it up. Every single time. So when the stepmother gifts earrings for a 5-year-old with unpierced ears, come on, that's not a gift. That's a manipulation. It's a way to force the conversation again. The mom calls to thank them and the stepmother jumps in. So you're getting her ears pierced now, right? The mom tries to dodge the question, but she won't let it go. So finally, the mom says no. She's exchanging the earrings for a matching necklace. She'll cover the price difference herself, and the stepmother starts crying. The dad calls the mom and tells her off. Says she's dismissing his wife's opinion that it was a thoughtful gift. The mom fires back that she can't take the obsession anymore, and the stepmother needs to stop obsessing over her daughter's ears. So the question is this mom the jerk for shutting it down and exchanging the gift? So they exchanged the earrings for that necklace, and the little girl absolutely loved it. Stepmother never replied to the video. But boundaries are set now, and honestly, good. If you made it this far, you clearly love these stories. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.